Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you guys are new here, my name is Peter DeBuslo. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a little bit more of a long-term relationship that I had with my Nikon Z8. Now, I did do a kind of like a 1-2 month review on this camera, but I wanted to talk more about the cameras, the pros and cons that I feel about the camera, that because I've shot more projects on this camera, I'm able to give a little bit more of an experience, an in-depth experience, things that I wish was better on the camera and things that I really love about the camera. In this video, I'm gonna talk about a few of those things. So now I want to talk about the battery life that I kind of felt that has to be talked about, because a lot of people comment on my videos and how good is the battery life. Now, my experience is do not purchase the K&F concept batteries. They are not good. I have like 4 of them and I go through them very quick. I would say within a good hour. I recently purchased a small rig battery. Now this thing is different. Now, no relationship with small rig whatsoever. I just felt like this battery's cool. It's blue, charges by USB-C right here, which I kind of felt pretty awesome because I have tons of USB-C cables lying around in the house or here in my office. And super quick, easy to charge. Even if you are a filmmaker that is always on the run and you need to charge up the battery, you can simply have a power bank with a USB-C cable hooked into the power bank and you're able to charge this guy up. Now, there is a light on here, so if it's red, it's dead, and if it's green, it's charged. I feel like these do take kind of a while to charge, but I mean, they do hold a lot of battery inside this small battery. I think these are on par with the Nikon batteries. I do currently have I do have 2 Nikon batteries, which I find that are great. If anything, I feel like these small rig batteries might be a little bit better. But besides that, yeah, I would highly recommend picking up one of these small rig batteries. No affiliation with them whatsoever, but these batteries are great. One more thing I want to talk about, and I kind of touched on this topic in my wedding video, is the overheating problem. Now, there is a setting to turn it off just like every other camera. Apparently it's like a thing now for cameras to overheat. But I had a warning that my memory card was overheating. Now, I'm not too sure if that is common on the Nikon Z8, but I kind of came up with a solution for this. I feel like shooting long days, especially like weddings, or if you're shooting like a documentary and you are like a handheld guy and you have a handle or whatever and you're constantly holding the camera like this is probably why the memory card is overheating. I'm not gonna say because it's probably shooting Nikon RAW if you're 8K or 4.1K or whatever it is. It's most likely because you're basically surrounding where the memory card goes in and it's causing it from overheating. So what I've done, and this kind of fixed that whole problem, is I mounted a NATO rail on the side here on the small rig cage, and I am using the red Komodo handle from the Tilta cage. So this is basically the Tilta handle that comes with the Tilta cage for the red Komodo, and slides right in, and it actually looks pretty good. Like, it actually almost looks like it suits the actual camera itself. And then we have some thread options on here so we can mount stuff. Now, the only downfall to this is if you are switching memory cards, you do have to take the handle off because the door will not open. Speaking of grips, I actually just recently picked up this Auto 1 battery. Most V-mount batteries have the D-tap, but this is almost like something I would call like a hybrid battery, only because it's got the D-tap, it's got a USB and a USB-C. So it did come with like this little adapter screw that I can just basically mount on the side of my cage. And I can just mount this battery right here, and now we have 2 handles right there. So we have a nice sturdy grip. This is not meant to be used as a handle, at least I don't think it is, but I feel like it's perfect for a handle. So now we have like 2 handles. The fact that I put it on the left side is because the USB-C input is there. I can just go from USB-C to USB-C and I have endless power. I feel like if you guys are looking for a battery option for your camera, regardless of the camera, the Auto 1 is a great purchase. I'm not gonna do a deep dive in these codecs or whatever. I just feel like there is a time and place for shooting all these codecs. And I feel like this is why the Nikon Z8 stands out in being one of the best hybrid cameras out there right now. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say Sony is better, blah, blah, blah. Think what you want. It's up to you. It's a preference. I'm not saying this is the best camera out there, but having all these internal codecs available without using a monitor is amazing. Like we have ProRes 422, we have H.264, H.265, 8-bit, 10-bit, ProRes RAW, and Nikon RAW, all able to shoot in 4K. And then we are also able to upscale our image to a 5K resolution, but in a crop mode. And then also we can choose the downscale option from an 8K, from the full 8K sensor to a 4.1K image. So that's gonna give us a super crisp image. And that's why I love shooting in the Nikon RAW. Now this only happens when you are shooting in Nikon RAW. From what I believe, it has to downscale that full sensor readout from the Nikon Z8 to bring and downsample it to the 4.1K. Now this downsampling only happens especially when you are in 4.1K Nikon RAW 24 frames per second. It won't do it in 60 frames. Now, this is from what I've heard. If I am wrong, I am sorry, but from what I heard, it only does the downscale in the 24p. And that's why I just feel like this camera basically shines from everything that I just listed. The image coming out of this camera is amazing. I kind of shoot everything in Nikon RAW. I am currently using my ProGrade 1 terabyte CF Express card. Having that downscale image from an 8K to a 4.1K, it's after you've tried it, gonna wanna keep shooting in that option just because the image is really nice. The quality is good coming out of the screen. The quality in the eyepiece is a little different, although I do prefer the quality coming out of the Z6 Mark III, a little bit better, a little bit higher end. Screen on the Nikon Z8 actually reminds me of the Blackmagic Pocket 6K screen, only because of how thick, but I would still recommend using an external monitor if you are using like a certain type of LUT or anything like that. So one thing that I found myself not liking about the camera is that when I do have an HDMI cable inserted into the camera going to a monitor, every time I hit or stop record, the monitor goes black. I'm not 100% sure why. And then I gotta wait for the signal to come back and then we can start rolling again. Also, we don't have a Rec 709 output for display on the monitor, which I hate because most of these monitors that come out there, and even if we input Rec 709 LUT, we're not getting the exact look of what we have in the camera, which is super annoying. One other topic I wanna talk about is using lenses on the Nikon Z8. The Nikkor 50mm just stands out because it's got some uniqueness in the lens, especially because it's somewhat older than the most current lenses, but it just has a little bit different of a character to this lens. I am using the 35 1.4 as well, which I always use when I'm shooting weddings. It's just a fast, perfect lens that is made to capture a little bit of a perfect variety of everything, if that makes sense. And then I'm also using the Mic 85 1.8, which is probably one of the most cheaper 85mm lenses that you can buy for the Z mount system. Now, one lens I do want to talk about is using the Canon FD55 1.2 on the Nikon Z8. I feel like this lens just shines on this body. You know, to be honest, it actually shines on any camera, and that is only because a lot of character that this lens provides. The bokeh is awesome. It just stands out between most of other lenses. Now, that's one thing I want to talk about as well is the most recent cinema lenses that are coming out. They could be somewhat expensive. So if you are looking for something a little bit on the cheaper side and that has some vintage characteristics, but somewhat in a better build, I would highly recommend looking at the Canon FD55 1.2. You will not be disappointed. That's it for this video. If there's things that you like about the camera or things you just don't like about the camera, if you've used the Nikon Z8, or things that you would just like to ask about your opinion on the Nikon Z8, let me know in the comments below. So until then, we'll see you guys on the next one.